11 years after boy sends shoebox gift, he receives a life-changing message. Sure, a pat on the back or a simple thank you is usually the standard for a job well done. But what if a single compassionate act could change your life along with someone else's? Doing good for others is often a reward in and of itself, but sometimes our generosity comes back to us in ways we never imagined. When an Idaho teenager remembered an act of kindness from his childhood, it turned his life upside down. See, the young man learned that not only had he changed another's life with that small act, but his own was about to change in a big way too. Social media is an essential part of modern communication. But when 18-year-old Tyrell Wolf received an unusual friend request on Facebook one afternoon, he wasn't sure what to make of it. The request came from a young Filipino woman named Joanna Marchand, and Tyrell was certain that he'd never met her before, let alone even been in the same country. Believing it to be just another scam, Tyrell declined the invitation. Several years passed and the strange friend request became a distant memory. He wasn't much for Facebook anymore, but while casually checking his profile one day, he noticed a new request in his inbox. The sender? Joanna Marchand. Tyrell's interest was piqued, but his parents, wary of the type of people you find online, were understandably worried about this interest in their son. Still, Tyrell couldn't resist getting to the bottom of this mystery. He opened the request and clicked confirm. Tyrell messaged the young woman, whose response only made things even more unclear. You know about the Samaritan's Purse? Tyrell was dumbfounded. What could this possibly mean? Was it some sort of code? Then, all at once, it hit him. Samaritan's Purse was a nonprofit through which a 7-year-old Tyrell had donated a shoebox full of gifts as part of a charity called Operation Christmas Child. But why 11 years later was this stranger from the Philippines contacting him about Christmas presents? And most importantly, how did she know about his donation? Then Joanna came clean. It was she that received Tyrell's shoebox all those years ago. Tyrell was blown away by the news, but even so, he was still skeptical of the young woman's motivations. After all, how was he to know if Joanna was really who she said she was? He needed proof. Tyrell questioned Joanna about the contents of his gift, but she was unable to recall anything specific about the shoebox. He was ready to write her off, but at the last minute, Joanna brought up one key item that proved she was telling the truth. In the original shoebox, Tyrell had included a picture of himself at the time of the donation. Joanna recalled the photo in perfect detail, describing his cute cowboy outfit and the wooden background of the image. Without a doubt, Joanna was exactly who she said she was, and the story of she and Tyrell was only just beginning. Though most would go their separate ways after a one-off encounter like this, Tyrell and Joanna stayed in touch and soon discovered they shared many of the same interests. Eventually, the pair was talking every day, and their Facebook chats soon blossomed into a fully fledged friendship. Over the next year and a half, Tyrell began saving up in the hope of visiting Joanna after he graduated high school. As soon as he'd met his goal, he messaged Joanna and immediately booked the next flight to the Philippines. Long plane rides are rough on everyone, but being that Tyrell had never left the country alone before, the 14-hour trip from Idaho to the Philippines was especially tough. But no matter how difficult the journey, it was all worth it for Tyrell when he arrived to find Joanna and her family waiting at the airport to welcome him. What was meant to be a short visit for Tyrell became a month-long stay, as he and Joanna discovered that their connection was deeper and more real than they ever could have imagined. It was clear that the Facebook friends were becoming something much more. Unfortunately, Tyrell had to say goodbye to Joanna, but he knew in his heart that he couldn't stay away for long. Putting in extra hours of part-time work between his college classes, Tyrell scrounged up enough money to make another trip back to the Philippines. His second trip to see Joanna was even better than the first, and it wasn't long before the two had fallen in love. After learning a good amount of Tagalog, the native language of the Philippines, Tyrell approached Joanna's father to ask for one very important thing: his daughter's hand in marriage. Joanna's father agreed in a heartbeat, but her mother, fearing the couple was moving fast, was hesitant to give her blessing. Tyrell was heartbroken, but the young man was unwilling to leave the Philippines without the woman he loved by his side. In a last-ditch effort, Tyrell convinced his father to fly in from Idaho to meet Joanna and hopefully ease the tensions between him and her family. After several weeks of discussions, Tyrell and his father finally persuaded Joanna's mother to agree to the proposal. In October of 2014, just 5 months after their engagement, the couple wed in a simple ceremony at Tyrell's parents' ranch. In lieu of wedding gifts, the newlyweds made an unusual request that brought their unconventional love story full circle. Tyrell and Joanna asked that each guest bring a shoebox of gifts to be donated to none other than Samaritan's Purse. They also asked their guests to include a note about Tyrell and Joanna's story in each box to show how one small act of kindness can completely change someone's life. After their wedding, Joanna agreed to leave her home in the Philippines behind in favor of small-town life with Tyrell in Idaho. Their quiet country home was soon filled with the pitter-patter of tiny feet, and not long after, Joanna gave birth to their first child, a baby boy named Harlan June Wolf. Even with lives made busy by work and parenting, Tyrell and Joanna still make it a tradition to deliver shoeboxes every year. It might not seem like much, but as the unlikely couple can attest to you, you never know what kind of good can come from a shoebox.